prosperity, Rob Blackstorm. What I want to talk about today or tonight, whenever you're viewing this, is I want to talk about the mind and I want to talk about the brain. And I also want to talk about how to enhance moods in 2022, how to enhance your mood, how to accentuate your divinity, and how to create magic out of thin air by using your mind and programming your brain. Now, let's talk about the negative. The way that the world programs you now, the way that the world programs your mind is through social media, through regular media, and then the masses that take in media, they then, as hive minds, go and spread, right, matrix code on each other. And as they spread matrix code on each other, it becomes an influence. They come on the attack. They want you to have the same code. And you get called different names, like you're an anti this, right? Or this hesitant. So, and more than that, they also have you in the divide and conquer game. They have your mind divide and conquer. Rich versus poor. What's the most common statement? You don't got no money. You're broke. You ain't got no money. Based on the musicians, based on pop culture, everybody's rich, right? All the rappers, the Justin Biebers, the singers, right? All the rock stars, right? Everybody's rich in abundance. The reality shows, everybody's rich. Nobody's broke on the reality show, and that's real. So, and even the NBA, the football players, right? The hockey players, people look into their lives, it's a life of wealth, richness. It's like Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous without Robin Leach on a 24/7 loop in your subconscious. So the mind works with the brain, but the mind is an independent entity. The mind is energy. The mind is all. All is mental. The mind is the universe. The mind is the quantum universe. The mind is its old matrix, is its old womb, because you take things from the mind. Everything is everything, which means everything that existed is, or that is existing, is already a part of something that's already here. The greatest computer, the greatest building, the greatest person, the greatest car, the greatest engineering. It's all made from minerals, solids, liquids, gases, electricity, energy, and crystals, piezoelectricity. You can put a negative and positive on, like a quartz crystals, negative and positive charge, and it'll create a spark. Because it's as piezoelectricity. Crystals conduct their own energy. So when people say crystals aren't real, right? What's the crystal? The green crystal. There's certain crystals that's undeniable. If you have not felt the energy from a crystal or from a gemstone, it's because it wasn't strong enough to resonate with you. But there's certain crystals, and when you put clear quartz on a crystal, it also amplifies the energy of the crystal. That's a gem. But the mind, it's not dealing with will. The mind is. The mind is all meaning all, positive and negative, so-called good, so-called bad, so-called evil, so-called righteousness. And the reason I say so-called is not because they don't exist. but it's the energy you put into one or the other. But then it's not even about one or the other. It's understanding that in this universe, both must exist. But you have to align yourself with light. Because in the light, you are corresponding to the sun. So what is the light that I'm talking about? This light that I'm talking about is the light that you have within you. The energy, the photons, what's pumping your heart right now, what's causing your lungs to expand and contract. That is who you really are. You are the spark to your imagination, the spark to your ideas, the spark that you say, oh, I'm going to get up right now. You get up. Now, yes, there's biochemicals moving, but they are still moving through a spark. And that spark is your heart. So in order to control your mind, one of the things you have to learn is how to control your heart. And how you control your heart is by diverting your heart towards the energy that you want. How do you divert your heart to the energy that you want? The mind is everything. The mind is all. The mind is the quantum universe. The mind is heaven, if you want to call it that. And hell, if you want to call it that. The mind is all, is everything. Everything is everything. So what you do is use the heart to beat enough energy with a certain direction, a certain focus that will cause things to move in your favor, move in your direction. But the energy you have to have time and thoughts to focus. When these shamans were on peace pipes and then they were smoking and doing psychedelics and things like this, they would meditate, they would read scripture, they would tell tales, they would be working in the pond or working in the field, they would be studying nature. It wasn't just about chilling and playing video games. It wasn't just about chilling and watching Netflix. It wasn't just about chilling and doing nothing, not making any money. It wasn't about chilling and not creating. It was a ritualistic practice designed to put your heartbeat in a frequency of one, the most powerful magic, which is gratitude, and two, the second most powerful magic, which is heart. Because the way the heart resonates, the energy that the heart, you have two main heart modes. You could go into fight or flight. You could go into rest and digest. You have the sympathetic nervous system that is dealing with fight or flight, dealing with the outside environment and homeostasis. And then you have the parasympathetic or the paranormal, you could say, within you, which deals with rest and digest. And this is when you're sleeping. This is when you're in daydream states. This is when you're in meditative states. This is when you quote unquote zone out. So when these moments happen, it's when you have these moments in time, the key is to start to recognize them. The key to start to recognizing these things, and you have to open locked doors in your brain. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So basically you have to, again, lock up, right? So that's the neurons. They have to lock up. Once that happens, basically it's like this. Right now, your brain is like, most people's brains is like broken chains, right? Not even broken chains, but chains that's going in a direction against them. Because neurons that fire together, wire together is the law. That's going to happen regardless of what you think. If you're thinking the world is bad, if you're thinking the world is great, if you're thinking you're going to have a great day today, or if you're thinking you're going to have a bad day today, those neurons that fire together are still going to wire together. So what happens is, over time, as you continue to generate electrical currents, which are what brain waves are, and these brain waves start to create a frequency. The brain waves are energy. The brain waves start to create a frequency, and the brain waves start to create a vibration. And in this frequency and in this vibration, the neurons are starting to lock up. Neurons that fire together wire together. Now your brain is the processing machine for the mind. The mind is a stream of consciousness. The mind is like Netflix. Pick what you want. There's no bias. It's like Netflix without marketing. Pick whatever you want to watch. Whatever life you want to watch in your own head, you could pick whatever life you want to watch. And there are outside circumstances that, of course, changed trajectory and direction of where that mind is going. But the key to spiritual practice, the key to prayer, the key to meditation, the key to connecting with your ancestors, whoever, however, whatever way you so choose to, but having some sort of memory to the ancestors. And strictly because every Eastern, the sun rises in the east. You are a sun. You rise. You are a walking sun. You're a bundle of energy. Like Morpheus said in the Matrix, you're the battery. But the key is to harness that energy and send it someplace where it's beneficial to you. And the key to doing that is repetition. Why is it repetition? Because again, neurons that fire together wire together. Now, when these neurons that fire together wire together in the brain, what you're doing is you're creating a current. And this current that keeps firing. Now, even if this is a quote unquote fantasy, right? But what is really fantasy? We've been fed fantasy all our lives, right? Through the Christianity, through what we've been taught in elementary schools and middle schools, high schools, even college. From what we've been taught about the government, from what we've been taught on TV. We're constantly in a state of what we've been taught about relationships through media, even through bad parenting. We're constantly in a state of reevaluation and reinvention. But we believed in fantasies. At one time as a kid, you believed Christopher, unless you had parents that was just putting you on. But most people believed in Christopher Columbus. Some people believed in Santa Claus. You know, people believed they were different characters. G.I. Joe, Cinderella, Transformers, Powerpuff Girls. Power Rangers. So the key is to continue to send that type of current, right? So my co-family, when you're working with Orishas, what you're doing is you're utilizing mathematical concepts, right? You're using frequencies and vibrations in the form of colors and in the form of shapes, right? And in the form of earth magic, mineral magic, right? Because you go to Yemaya with water, right? You don't really, Yemaya's a water deity. Or Set, there's a water deity, Isis, water deities. You deal with them with water. But when you go to Papa Legba, right? You got some candy, you got a cigar, right? When you go to Jesus, You gotta have an offering, right? You gotta have an offering, right? You can't go empty handed. Even on your altar, right? You have mementos, you have things, that represent family. Probably some people have money on their altars, right? People say it's a bad thing. I say do what you want to your altar. It's a memory to your ancestor. So you know what your ancestors like. And don't just treat it as a trade-off. But an altar is a great thing to have because it helps you focus the mind. And at the same time, it is basically a resting place for your ancestors. You keep it clean, you keep it lit. Some people put food, some people put gifts, some people put things that they like, which I think most people should do. Glass of water, keep it refreshed, right? Don't just treat your altar like a trade-off space, though. Where like it's an ATM or where it's a bank, you just exchanging one thing to another, because some people do that. Nah. Maintain it. If you got, granny or auntie or whoever, uncle, father on it, you want to keep it and keep it lit and keep energy on it. Because it helps. It becomes not only a place of peace, but it's also a channel to help you communicate with your ancestors. That's why when people die, they put candles out, right? Candlelight vigils. It's a way, it's really a portal. It's a temporary portal. If you talk to it and engage it, right? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word became a God. You can speak to that particular portal and gain messages. But the messages may not be on your time, but the messages will be on time. So anyway, so this is how you use the mind. You use the mind by tapping into everything. So everything can happen. Everything and anything. Nothing's impossible. The only thing that is impossible is if it's impossible if you don't put it out there that it's possible. That's when it becomes impossible. If you think it's impossible. Because the universe is going to give you what you give it. If you see the world is scary, the universe is going to give you scary. If you say things are possible, the universe is going to give you possibilities. If you say that you're abundant, the universe is going to give you abundance. The thing is, you have to delude yourself into believing. You have to delude yourself into believing. And that is the key. The same way you were deluded as a kid. That's why it is the heart. It is the currency, the energy that you generate by having visions and dreams. And if you are using the lower, orishas, deities, the saints, the gods as a way of channeling energy and making things happen, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Because what you're doing is you're utilizing mystic math. The universe is mathematic, first and foremost. 1 + 1 = 2 all day. But then there's a zero. And zero is everything. So the key to mastering mind is to literally take time and space. If you can, meditate. But if you can't, pray hard. Pray hard so that you can feel it. And don't just pray hard in church. Like pray hard where you feel the energy. And you have to be sincere. And what's going to happen is life will throw you people also that will give you advice. Life will throw you people that will throw you a lifeline. Life will throw you people that will give you opportunities. But you have to be prepared for the opportunities, which is why, as the Muslims say, you have to stay on your deen. It has to be repetitive processes. And this is why following the moon, following lunar changes, understanding the basics of your own sun sign, the basics of your moon, the basics of your rising, Jupiter and Saturn. You go to astroseek.com, get a free reading. But everybody should know a little bit of something about their astrological chart. Because as the changes are going on in the media and in the world, and the new variant this and the new mandate that, and the new technology this, and the new stock and the new coin that, you still have to, the new game this and the new this, you still have to nurture that energy through the ups and downs. Through the ups and downs. You really have to have the faith of a mustard seed. You have to have that faith of a mustard seed. And then it'll grow and blossom. And it's not going to grow immediately, because remember, neurons that fire together wire together. But what is fire, right? You don't just get fire out of nothing, poof. You throw some sand or some dust, you're not just going to get fire, right? You have to rub something, or you have to have something that clicks to spark fire. You don't just get fire out of nowhere. There has to be friction. So the more that you continue to work, these neurons that fire together, wire together. And there is even something in your brain called telomeres. And you have telomere caps. And the telomere caps, what they do is, what happens is over time when you age, the telomere caps continue to shorten. And that's when you start to decline, right? And get ready to go back to the essence. But if people who meditate, people who do, this is a fact, people who meditate, their telomeres have grown back. There are scientific studies where they've been able to live longer, right? There is a fountain of youth out here if you are willing to tap into the fountain. There is a fountain of health, right? Doesn't mean you're not going to go through ups and downs, right? But if you look at life for what it is, and if you look at your challenges and you genuinely try to fix your flaws and try to improve, and that's the thing, most people, they don't want to, self-improvement, self-mastery is tough. It's not easy. It's much easier to just lay back and say, God got it. And lay back and say, Jesus got it. And when I die, I'll just pray, and then I'll go to heaven, no matter what. It's much easier. But to walk a path where you are generating and fully responsible for your own energy, this is why I always say to give. It's not to give. You're not giving, if you don't have it, don't give it, right? If you are struggling and you're on your, like some people, they'll buy candles and stuff for the Orishas and this and that to do a money spell, but they don't got no money. And so they'll use their last on the spell, or they'll use their last to give in tithing, or they'll give their last to do something, And in a religious or in a manner to try to pay spirit, right? To say, I gave my last, to pay spirit off. And spirit's like, what have you done for me lately? Because the neurons got to fire together or wire together. And spirit is basically the spiraling, activating force of the mind. The same caducees that you see as the medical logo. I showed y'all the last video with the wings, the caducees. That's the symbol of health. 2 spiraling snakes cord in the middle with wings. So that spiraling energy is what you have to generate. How do you generate that? You generate that through your dreams. You generate that before you go to bed. You should be thinking the best things about yourself. You should be thinking about the most money you could have about yourself. You should be thinking about the most cars you could have. You should be thinking about what it is next that you could do. You should be thinking about just maximizing, because it's your imagination. It's the one thing they can't take away from you. The mind is all, so there's all sorts of choices. There's all sorts of opportunities. Before a car was created in the world, it was created in the mind. It was created in the real metaverse. Because it came into somebody's mind. Oh, let me create a car. But this is from elements of things that were already here, right? The car is using metal, the car is using gasoline, oil, right? The car is using these different knobs and these different, nuts and bolts and things like that. Now even computers, right? So it's made up of elements of the earth that were already here. So when they say there's nothing new under the sun, that's really what they're talking about. They didn't create, there's nothing new that has been created. Everything that was created or that has been created is a part of something that was already here. You're just repurposing it, basically. Even our bodies. So the one thing you can do is you could delude yourself. When I say delude yourself, I don't mean not pay your bills. I don't mean not go to work. I don't mean not pay money. I don't mean not to shower and brush your teeth and and take care of your health. And no, you have to, the universe again is mathematic. When you go to Papa Legba, you go to the crossroads. You could bring candy, you could bring rum, you could bring pennies. It's on a Monday. You got to respect it. It's a mathematical operation, though. There's features, there's steps. When you're using Oshun, you're dealing with oranges. You're dealing with sunflowers. You're dealing with sunflower seeds. You're dealing with honey. These are the steps and parts of the ritual that must take place in order to gain favor of this particular frequency that you call a god or a deity. So you personify this god or a deity in order to gain connection between you and the deity. And that is fine. But remember, as the deity is a bundle of energy and unique, so are you. So if you relate energy to energy, you'll gain the same value. For instance, after you're doing an Oshun ritual, you should try to employ yellow and green as much as possible. Same thing with a Papa Legba or Legba ritual. Same thing with an Ogun ritual. You want to have some iron around you. You want to have some steel, some bullets, right? Coconut. So the mind the brain is the recorder of the past. And the best way to utilize the brain is to tap into the mood to generate the frequency to fire and wire over time, so that, some people have a poverty mindset. They can't see themselves wealthy. They can't see themselves rich. They couldn't see that in their lifetime. They're just happy, comfortable with what they're doing, and comfortable in the struggle. And, I'm going to struggle till I die. I'm going to stay hood till I die. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, right? They never try to do anything new. They never try to assert themselves in anything, try anything, step out of the box. They just follow whatever program that they see society's doing. How can you create new neurons that fire together and wire together like that? How can you utilize the brain correctly? How can you partake from the milk and honey of the mind? The milk being from the pineal gland. And the honey from the hypothalamus. That's why they're talking about decalcifying the pineal gland. When you look at calcium, it looks like milk. When you look at calcium tablets, it look like they're white. So the key. So look at this, right? And I'm going to strengthen this argument even more about you. But you have to be responsible. That's the thing. You have to handle whatever business you have to handle. You have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of your family, right? But in the midst of all of your responsibilities, your day-to-day responsibilities, your job is to utilize moments and pockets of time and dedicate that to the creation of the reality that you want, to feeling it, to tasting it, to touching it, to putting your hands on it in your imagination so much that you feel that, so much that you, like, it's overwhelming. It's almost like a lucid dream. It's like you're there. It feels real and you could touch it and hold it. Like an astral travel, like a dream. You just had to wake up because you felt like it was falling, like it was that real. That's how you want to feel it. But only this way on the positive side. Towards the things that you want to manifest, the things that you want to create, the things that you want to overcome. And again, your riches may not just be in the form of money. I've been having some interesting conversations with people lately. Random people, people in the cab, people in my building who I didn't even know, having conversations about the world and what's going on with everything. And, met up with my guy. We was having a deep, intense conversation. He pulled my coat to some things. I was like, oh, shit, all right. All right. And you need people that's going to tell you the truth in your life. You need people that are going to keep it real with you and keep it 100 with you, even if it's unfavorable. Because sometimes people, and of course, these are people that you trust, not just, the boyfriend you just met on Instagram or TikTok, right? And you took his picture after the first date, so now y'all go together. And you put it on Instagram and Facebook and got 125 likes. So you have, of course, your two hemispheres of the brain, but more importantly, and this is what you have everybody's pineal. Yeah, pineal's dope. Where you get your dreams, your melatonin, right? Where you get your visions at night, right? Everybody's pineal gland. But the two biggest glands that they don't tell you about is the amygdala and hippocampus. The amygdala and the hippocampus. The amygdala, what the amygdala does is, when whatever mood that you're feeling, right? So let's say you're happy, right? You're at a party. Oh. You're at the party. You're feeling good. You're feeling great. The amygdala takes that feeling, right? It takes that feeling and it sends it to the hippocampus. The hippocampus stores it. Hippocampus is like documents, like it stores it like a RAM file, right? Like it basically stores it, let's say like it stores it on a chip, right? A memory chip, let's say. The hippocampus is like a memory chip. The hippocampus looks like a seahorse. It's actually hippocampi. They're two different, but they look together, come together and look like one. But the hippocampus basically, so that you feel good, you was at the party, the hippocampus says, oh shit, parties are good, parties are fun. The hippocampus that says, okay, hypothalamus, boom, generate these hormones. The thalamus says, all right, I got you, boom. Sends the hormones through the body. This is done, of course, way quicker than how I'm explaining it. And it sends these hormones, it sends these neurotransmitters through the body, right? These biochemicals saturate the body. And what happens is it generates a feeling, it generates an emotion. That feeling and that emotion, going back to the heart, that feeling and that emotion generates a heartbeat. That heartbeat generates a frequency, even just even if just because it's just a sound, right? It's a sound. Like a dog could probably hear your heartbeat if a dog could hear a dog whistle, right? But anyway, it's a heartbeat. So it generates a frequency. That frequency emanates energy out into the universe. Because the frequency that you have is basically, again, the information. Parties are good. The amygdala says, parties are good. Let me send this to the hippocampus. The hippocampus says, parties are good. Sends the chemicals. It generates a feeling. That feeling generates a heartbeat. That heartbeat generates a frequency. That frequency has a corresponding frequency that it meets out into the environment. Because it is a heartbeat, it is a signal. Just like sometimes you could be thinking about somebody and then they call you. Or you could be thinking about somebody and then you just happen to see him, right? You sent out a signal. People say, oh, it's just random. Well, don't random things happen? Like snow in Texas. Like millions of scorpions on the coast of Egypt. Like hurricanes, tornadoes. Oh, that's the government. Everything? So you're giving the government that much power? That's your focus? So you giving the government that much power, guess what? You create that frequency. Because that is also a heartbeat. And that is what you chose to pull from the mind, which is everything. From the quantum universe, which is everything. From God, you say, who is all, omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient. And you chose to pull that particular idea. You chose to pull something negative. And then and then some people, they mad at God, and then they lose the voice of God. The voice of God, or one of them, is really the voice of your ancestors, your angels and your demons, your ancestors battling. Because you are made of blood. So why do people have different voices from the other? Some people hear voices in their head. You could say it, most people say that the voices come from outside, but what if the voices come from within? It's cooler to say the voices come from outside because that's what we see in movies and TV shows. But what if the voices are coming from within? Based on what part, because as you're generating and pumping blood, you are basically, you don't find yourself, you create yourself. So you're basically doing, what do they call that? I'm thinking neurogenesis, but no. Epigenesis or epigenetics. You're creating an epigenetic environment all the time. but it's based on what you think and what you do. The body's a temple. There's no scripture or holy book that I've ever seen that didn't say that. So you have to respect it. You have to do your best to respect it. You know, there's things that happen, but you have to do your best to respect it. So you could generate and create the things that you want. And the things that you want don't necessarily mean that they're physical things. These could be attributes. Get rid of shyness, right? If you're overly aggressive, to learn to relax, right? To become better around people. If you know you're always causing problems. If you know you're not causing problems, to surround yourself with more people that don't cause you problems. If you want people that think and understand you, you could create that landscape in your mind. You could do this before bed, before you go into your subconscious for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. Instead of, BMF. Instead of, Game of Thrones or something like that. When you wake up in the morning, can you turn the alarm off? Let the phone chill for 10, 15 minutes and visualize and feel your day and feel like opportunities are going to come to you that benefit you. Good things happen. And also, again, those of you who deal with the esoteric, the Loa, the Orishas, the saints, the gods, the deities, you do the same thing. You use these rituals, again, not just as trade-offs, but also connect with these particular energies. Start wearing the colors, have some of the things on you that you offered in some way, form, or fashion. Keep that energy going. Neurons that fire together, wire together. But as the more they fire, that's the key. You have to fire them. If you don't fire them, they're going to wire whatever way. And a lot of people, they wire whatever way, Entertainment Tonight, whatever way, the Shade Room, whatever way, Love and Hip Hop, whatever way, the NBA, the NFL, whatever way the video games, whatever way the manosphere, whatever way the female sphere, whatever way the black sphere, whatever way the white sphere, whatever the way that's going to divide and get you conquered. Because once you realize everything is everything, you realize that everything has some purpose. Everything has some purpose. You just got to realize what it is. But if you understand what things are, if you understand how to basically, you're basically moving matter. And it's just the amount of, it's like things that you say are unrealistic, right? But how you know you are seeing evidence of God power, God within, God power, Christ power, light, is you start seeing synchronicities. Again, the first step is gratitude. The second step is taking time, daydreams, meditation, intense prayer, water magic, speaking on your water, writing affirmations, scripture on your water bottle, wherever you contain your water. Put words of power. Dr. Emoto, there's a doctor called Emoto that has proven that if you put words on water, if you speak to water, it is alive. It is a conduit of energy. This is an energy game. This universe is an energy game. It's how you choose to use your energy. And your energy is usually, if not always found in your passion. Your most energy is found in your passion. That's why everybody has energy for sex. Because everybody's passionate for that. All right, so your energy is found in your passion. So whatever you're passionate about, but again, I don't think you find your passion. I think your passion is already in you. What you do find is you don't find your passion, you change yourself. You find yourself, you don't necessarily, I think when you go through life, you don't necessarily find yourself. I think you create yourself or recreate yourself. But some people, what they call child prodigies, right? Their passion was in them already, because everybody's born with their passion. It's just that the difference between a regular person and a child prodigy is this. A child prodigy had parents that saw or allowed, or the child prodigy was strong enough and had the resources or the means to break away from the bad parent, or was it a grandpa on but the child prodigy got nurtured in order to become a child prodigy. That's when the parent is able to see the kid's greatness. That's what separates just the child prodigy from the person that's not. Because you are already born with that, right? So you're just creating more of who you are and whatever your purpose was going to be, which is why you become the child prodigy. Because it's nurtured from a young age in some way, shape, form, or fashion. Whereas in other ages, it's not nurtured, right? Kid can't do much without his parents. So, as we go into 2022, the goal for us is to become what we want to see in the true metaverse, in the true internet, in the true matrix, which means womb, which is the mind. Because once that amygdala gets registered at hippocampus and them chemicals go down, you send out a frequency. And that frequency has a corresponding frequency, as above, so below. So you're going to be hitched to that particular frequency of whatever you say it is. But you control it. That's the thing. You control it. And society's job, the so-called devil, is to separate you from that, and to be distracted, and to be influenced, and to be triggered by trauma instead of fixing trauma, instead of healing trauma, instead of using techniques to slow down your breathing so you get in a parasympathetic state, which is a rest and digest state, to tap into your paranormal, go into your imagination and slay the demons. Prep yourself before bed, just like in Nightmare on Elm Street, right? Prep yourself before bed so you can go into the dream world. Remember in Nightmare on Elm Street, they had to learn how to fight Freddy in the dream world, and they realized it wasn't real, that they had power. That's how they defeated Freddy in one of those movies. I think it was part 3. But they realized that they had power and they could defeat Freddy because it was the dream world. So in the dream world, you could conquer your past. But the thing is, again, when these opportunities come and these hardships and difficulties come, you also have to be prepared to maintain these practices and maintain an outlook. You could be down, like Iverson got knocked down plenty of times. You just got to get back up. And the practice while things are good, while things are going well, or when things are bad, right? The practice to get yourself back up. Either way, it's beneficial. Either way, it's well. Either way, it's good. Either way, it's divine. Either way, it's powerful. But the thing is, don't get up and forget that you were down. If you are up, don't forget the person that's down, because life could change tomorrow. You never know. Or a car accident, a fire, a sickness, a plane crash, a hurricane, a tornado, a flood. Away. So this is why gratitude, you always got to start with gratitude. Say thank you. Even those of you who are still stuck in the Christian, say thank you before you even pray. Don't, be thankful that you're alive. But don't give it all to God, because hopefully, you've been doing some things too. But give it to God, but give it to the God in you as well. Because the God that you're thinking of is out there is one with you. You're made of stardust. You're made of everything in the universe. Scientific fact. So, being that you stream consciousness, the mind is basically the TV, right? For the signal that goes into the TV, the signal that you put inside, the signal that goes inside the Netflix show, that gives you the picture. You are that. You create that. The signal is out there, but you choose with your remote whatever picture you're going to put on there, on the screen. When you stream it. If life is good, you stream it. If life is bad, you stream it. If this world sucks, you stream it. If men ain't you stream it. If all women ain't you stream it. If I ain't never gonna get no money, I'm broke, you stream it. If nobody ever gonna love me, you stream it. But the only difference between Netflix is Netflix doesn't have a heart. Netflix doesn't have biochemicals, and Netflix doesn't emit a biorhythm. And that's what creates your electromagnetic field, and your electromagnetic field is magnetic. And this is when the synchronicities start, and the synchronicities start to show you miracles. Also, you start to learn how much you've grown in your dreams. And what happens is the blessing is, again, that's when the lessons come. This is where the people come. This is where the opportunities start to come. And you just have to keep your eyes open. And you have to control your mind, and you have to watch what you focus on and watch what you pay attention to. Because everything you pay attention to has a charge. You pay attention. Everything you pay attention to has a charge. Everything you pay attention to, there's a currency cost. Because there's currency, there's energy. And you are an electromagnetic being. So by nature, you are magnetic towards what you are paying attention to. So you're watching me, but we're magnetic. You're taking an energy from me, and I'm taking an energy from you because you're watching me, even though I'm miles away. This is why when you're doing this type of work, you always want to wear something protective. Or you want to, or sage or sweetgrass. Sweetgrass is another form of sage, by the way. If you don't like sage, sweetgrass is another form of sage. You could it also works as a protector. It's something that the Geechee Gullah, who work with the deities out in Africa, Sierra Leone, and they use sweetgrass a lot to clear the air and clear out spirits. It smells better too. And so don't be afraid of what they say on TV. Don't be afraid of what the conspiracy theorists say. Don't be afraid of what the news say. Don't be afraid of what your family members say. Don't be afraid of what your friends say. Don't be afraid of what other people say. Live your life Live your life and live your light. Live what you see you want to live. Make moves to see what you want to live. Make moves in the spirit realm and then make moves in the physical realm. Don't just make moves here and here and you don't make any other moves. You have to work with the energy because again, it is the sacred energy exchange, right? The SEX, the sacred energy exchange is not just man and woman. It's you and your dreams. It's you and your goals. It's you and your desires. Yes, you can sit down and things manifest, but a lot of times what manifests are opportunities. What manifests all amongst the gifts and the trinkets and the, finding money or getting a check or, getting a new car, whatever it is. Besides all that, what manifests, even with those things, are opportunities to help you become more comfortable so you could create. You could keep neuron firing together, wiring together, continue to create that type of frequency. But a lot of times people do these things, right? Have these visions, pray something, magic something, manifest something into existence. And they stop. And a lot of us get caught up in that. What you have to manifest is continuously manifesting who and what you are and who and what you want to be. Who and what you are and who and what you want to be. Those two things have to be created. And it does take information. It does take time because there's time to find the information. It does take trial and error. It does take coming out of your comfort zone because, again, you have to fire them to wire together. There has to be a spark of energy. So even when you're sitting down meditating, those people who meditate know that you start to feel in your pineal, if you meditate long enough, you start to feel the blood rushing to your brain. And what happens, the more stressed you are, the more negative you are, the more you think bad things are going to happen, the more you talk bad about people, the more you talk bad about your environment, the more hate that you spread out. What happens is you have something in your brain, in your frontal lobe, and that amygdala that basically takes in the mood, whether it's good or bad. Like I said, when you go into the party, you'll feel good, right? I'm in the party. Worse if, you see somebody who broke your heart, the hippocampus is like, oh, bad, oh, sadness, pain, things like that, cortisol, right? Stress. But what happens is that same amygdala, right? When the mood comes and you keep getting negative things, what happens is the hippocampus starts to shrink and get shriveled up, right? Because it's going under emotional abuse. It's constantly stressed. It's constantly cortisol, right? And also, when you continue to think negative, your frontal lobe, which is basically the most evolved part of your brain, it's your critical thinking, reasoning, able to take your thoughts and your downloads and able to map things out, right? Help you plan and also help your perception, right? Because it's the closest to the forehead. It's the closest to the eyes too, right? Prefrontal cortex, frontal lobe. So you get this particular, so what happens is when you are negative, that starts to shrink. Your prefrontal cortex starts to shrink. There's something in psychology called HALT, H-A-L-T. When you're hungry, when you are angry, when you are lonely, and when you are tired, these things make the frontal lobe start to shrink. I'm not talking about hungry and the fast or something like that, because I know somebody's going to say something smart like that. But I'm talking about when you're really hungry, right? When there is no opportunity to go to Whole Foods or the bodega, and you don't know when the next meal is coming. Of course, we know angry, right? When you're angry, of course, that the blood stops flowing to the brain and starts flowing to the body. and it puts you in fight or flight, right? It puts you in that sympathetic nervous system mode. You're ready for defense, you're ready for war, you're ready to pop off. Or you're ready to look around and be careful and be aware, right? Conscious mind. Parasympathetic is you chilling on the couch, watching Netflix. I don't know why I'm saying Netflix so much tonight, but sitting on the couch watching Netflix. I'm actually going to watch Netflix, and then I'm going to watch, that movie, Don't Look Up. Everybody's telling me to watch it. But, so, it's up to you. But if you're positive, right, what happens is the amygdala, the frontal lobe actually gets bigger, right? Because the brain is brain neuroplasticity. The brain is constantly changing. It's constantly restructuring itself based on how you think. Neuroplasticity. So it's always constantly changing. So and if you start to change your brain, you could, of course, the hippocampus will start to expand. You'll start to take in more chemicals from your pineal. You'll start to get more visions. You'll start to get more ideas. You'll start to gain more opportunities. These chemicals then again will secrete through the body. The body will have a heartbeat based on the resonance of these thoughts, that are positive. These thoughts where you've changed and done the shadow work and changed your past and recreated it in your image. You fought off the bully in your mind repetitiously, and you felt it. And you've seen the signs and symbols in your life. You've analyzed the signs and symbols in your life. You've analyzed the trauma, and you made the effort to do so. Then you could pick from different parts of the mind, because the mind is now open to reshape the past. When the hippocampus is shrunk up and the frontal lobe is shrunk up, it affects your decision-making ability. It affects your critical thinking. It affects your reasoning. It affects your wisdom. Your imagination is still there. You still think these things every once in a while, but if your imagination is on BS all the time and other people's issues and other people's problems and what's going on in the world today, whether you're getting money from it or not, there's still time away from your happiness. There's still time away from your joy. And if that is your joy, you have to ask yourself, is how much damage is it really doing? Or is it doing no damage, right? The world is yours. You create your reality. But the same way that the sun rises and the sun sets, and there's no amount of magic you're going to do to stop that, that's the same way the cycles of life are. So eventually your health will take a toll, or your physical health or your mental health, either one. Because the body can not continue to run like that. The body's designed to survive. Or you put it in survival mode by constantly being stressed out, constantly thinking the world is out to get you, constantly thinking your health is never going to get better, constantly thinking your children won't fix it, constantly thinking the worst. And sometimes you have to let people go in order for them to get better, in order for you to get better. And you can probably reunite with them sometime in the future. But if you guys aren't having a positive connection with each other and aren't boosted enough to be happy, aren't boosted enough to laugh, it's misery. I'm not saying you don't have a disagreement, but if there's constant arguing, what's the sense? You're beating up your brain, you're limiting your power, you're limiting your power to access the universe, to access different options, to access different frequencies, to access different knowledge, to access different wisdom that is within you and without you, that is outside you in nature, that is within you in your DNA, in your mitochondria, in your proton, neutron, and electron. The universe is everything, all things, positive or negative. It's your choice. The universe is all. The universe is mental. The key is you have to wield it the way you wish. And if you don't wield it the way you wish, then someone will. Someone will control your universe. Someone will control your world. Someone will control your life. We call them narcissists, but sometimes they're your boss. Sometimes they're your friends, energy vampires. Sometimes you choose to be around them just so you're not lonely, right? Part of HALT, hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Shrinks the brain, so you go seeking loneliness. You're hungry, you seek food. You're angry, you want to party all the time. Then you're tired from partying all the time. Or you're tired because you're just not in a comfortable sleeping place. But from there, if you visualize yourself getting off the rug and visualize yourself having a bed every night before bed, in whatever situation, every day you wake up and you feel that, you so-called delude yourself, just like you deluded yourself to think Jesus was real, just like you was deluded enough to think Christopher Columbus came to America. Just like you were deluded maybe at one time to think black people were just like white people and we didn't have cultural and physical differences, or that we're different than Asian people, and that we're all different but yet still the same because we breathe the same air. And these are just avatar bodies. And race is a construct that was created to divide and conquer. Doesn't mean that there are not cultural differences and genetic differences based on how we grew up and based on the ability of our bodies to do and act differently. There's nothing wrong with that. We also have to recognize that we are indie, one, individual, dual, individual. So you're one, indie, but are dividable. So you are this flesh, but you are also mind or spirit, right? Spirit is basically how mind carries on its action. And your electromagnetic field is generated from the heart. And there's more neurons from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. There's more neural connections sticking up. Neurons that fire together, that wire together, that go from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. Which proves that the feelings that you generate have an effect on how you think, have an effect on the ideas you get, have an effect on the quote-unquote downloads you get, have an effect on the way you reason things. Therefore, your magnetism is only going to pull in certain things. The more negative you think, especially 2022, is the more negative that you will get. Because it is a mirror years too. It's duplicate, right? 222. And it's in triple. So the more, and it is dealing also, if you don't know how to manage your emotions, you're going to be down bad. Here's 2 gifts I'm going to give you before I go. 1 gift, you want to get yourself some ashwagandha, and you want to get yourself some St. John's wort. Research them for yourself. I'm not a doctor. Look them up. Make sure you're not pregnant or it's not going to affect you in any way, but they will help you with any type of depression. Another tea you want to take, especially during the month of January until we go into the next sign, is you want to take some horsetail tea. Horsetail tea is going to, and again, take it not every single day, but take it 2 to maybe 3 times a week. Keep your system flushed out. Also help you become more organized, and it will put things in and opportunities and different things in your life. It's an herb, so it has its own spirit. It has a magical property. Just like when you drink different liquor, the champagne spirit is different than the Hennessy spirit, then it's different than the beer spirit, it's different than the wine spirit, right? It's different than the wine cooler, it's different than the Four Loko spirit. liquor is called spirits because they generate energy, right? The herbs themselves, the mixture of the herbs and the different minerals and so forth, the herbs inside these beers, the hops and things like that, right? The wine, the grapes. So we have to really, really, really take our time to create our time and to make our time and create our time. We have to create a mood, a vision, thought, an emotion, a thought, an affirmation, a visualization, an emotion, and then actions that go according to it, and let the universe do the rest. Peace, power, prosperity. Rob Blackstorm, one love.